Shalom Yesharala. First and foremost, I'm to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rechal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to those Le'akim that's preach the word in all truth and sincerity, along with your Israelite foreigner brothers that like the heathens, but the line on the side goes back to nation of Israel, which nation of Israel are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans through the prophecies and curses of Deuteronomy 28 chapter and throughout the Bible. So this is brother Yakal, a month by the lesson, and today's lesson will be entitled, Whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. I was going to go on some precepts and Lord willing, you brothers and you sisters out there be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemam Shai. I quoted that from Apostle Paul, in Romans 15:4, and this was an epistle or a letter that Apostle Paul wrote to the church of Rome, to the Israelites, that the Israelite foreigners that woke up to the truth and they started believing in Yahweh by Shemam Shai, So let's start off in Romans 15:4, and it reads, For whatsoever things were written aforetime, which aforetime means in the past, so whatsoever things were written in the past were written for our learning. Yeah, because the Lord has given us examples of our forefathers on what not to be and what to be. The what not to be will be, the wicked of our forefathers, man. For example, the Israelites that same generation of the Israelites that came out of ancient Egypt, that first generation, the Lord has given us examples of what not to be because they were, they didn't believe in Yahweh Shai, and they were murmuring against him. They were complaining. They were worshiping other gods. They were worshiping the golden calf of Egypt. So this is an example of what not to be. And what to be is, following, the patterns of our righteous forefathers, man. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our Lord Yahweh Shai, all the righteous prophets, the apostles, Apostle Paul, on how they, believe in Yahweh Shemon Shai and did the works to the best of their ability, you see. So the Lord has given us examples on what to be and what not to be by way of what was written of our forefathers in the past, you see. It says that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope, right, man? Because the scriptures is a comforter, So, that's why we turn to read the scriptures whenever we're going through things, man. Because in this truth, we have to bear our cross, So, we're going to have to go through a lot of temptations and trials and tribulations, but we resort to the comforter, on how and read about our righteous forefathers on how they dealt with, their trials and tribulations, and that's how we can relate to them, because serving Yahweh Shemon Shai is not easy, but what gives us comfort is to know that to still serve the Lord even when we're going through catching hell, you see, which gives us hope, man, and comfort, you see. And with that, it develops patience. Patience means to suffer. So we suffer, which really is Yahweh Shemon Shai putting the Holy Spirit on us to be in this truth, man. It's not of our own will, And I wanted to go in 1 Corinthians 10, read verses 1 through 12, because Apostle Paul explained it greatly, man. Giving examples of how, how our rights, how our forefathers were slacking, how our forefathers was in the past, in the ancient world. But this is 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 1, and it reads, Moreover, brethren, I will not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. And right, and this was during the time of, when our forefathers were delivered through the hand of Moses, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shimon Shah from ancient Egypt. And that cloud was a huge chariot, man, that guided us throughout the wilderness, man. You see, it says, verse 2, it says, and were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yahweh Shai. Right, so the rock was Yahweh Shai, so Yahweh Shai was the one that was in that chariot guiding the Israelites, man. Because one thing, a great mystery in the scriptures, Yahweh Shai always been here, always been with us. He was always with us, man, even from the beginning, because it was Yahweh Shai and the angels, the elect, that through the blueprint of the Most High Yahweh, that created the whole earth. The animals, the plants, the water, all the elements, including the lots of men, family, structure, just everything, man. You see? So that's one great mystery right there, that Yahweh Shai, he always been here, But let's continue. It says, verse 5 says, but with many of them Yahweh was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. And right, man, because that's talking about the wicked Israelites. The Lord was killing a lot of Israelites because they were disobedient. They were worshiping other gods. Worshiping Baal Peor, and worshiping the golden calf. It says, verse 6, now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Right, because it was an account when they lusted, and it was lusting after the food that they were eating in ancient Egypt, which was the fish, the cucumbers, the leeks, the onions, and Israel, they started lusted after, they also lusted after quail, but as they were lusting after it, they were, they were saying, evil things towards the Lord, man. So they were being impatient, and they were, because like that saying, you're not you when you're hungry. That's how Jake was, man. Which the Lord was feeding our people in the wilderness with manna. But Jake got tired of eating the same manna every day, and they started to buck up against the Lord, saying, we want the fish we ate freely in Egypt. We want the leeks, the onions. We want quail, So Jake was doing these things in an evil way. You see, it says, and brothers can go to the account. I'm just, speaking on making the history brief. Verse 7 says, neither be idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up the plate, man. So Jake was, partying and bullshit, man. They wasn't, their heart wasn't single-minded, except for Joshua and Caleb, man, because only Joshua and Caleb were delivered from, were the ones that entered the land of Canaan, which later became the land of Israel, of that first generation of Israelites that were delivered from Egypt. The Lord killed all the other Israelites in the wilderness. Even Moses didn't make it, So let's continue. It says, verse 8, neither let us commit fornication, which fornication is adultery, as some of them committed and fell in one day 20 and 3,000. Right? And that count is written in Numbers 25, when Jake was, they were worshiping Baal Peor, and, Jake was popping the other heathen woman in the name of that God. So the Lord got angry, and, the Lord started killing a lot of them, man, And let's continue. It says, verse 9, neither let us tempt Yahweh Shai, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed as serpents. See? So they was tempting the Lord, man. Will the Lord be with us or not? Saying things like that, and they will destroy serpents, man. Them fiery serpents, them fiery snakes that the snakes was biting the Israelites, and they were dying, man, until Moses had made that serpent of brass, and whoever looked upon that serpent of brass lived. You know, so all these accounts, was going to was examples of what not to be. That Apostle Paul is referencing on. And once again, I'm just making the history brief, because if I was to go into every account, it would be, I don't want to make this lesson too long, but brothers can go back, on the blue letter, you can actually cross-reference the account that Apostle Paul's referenced to, and I'll just give an example real quick. 1 Corinthians 10 is one example. Now let's go to this account, verse 9. You go to cross-references, and these are various accounts that, are, it will say like the word, or here tent, it says tent right there, and then it will give the account of the Israelites tempting the Lord, or give the account that the word tempt is in the scripture in an account. So, but brothers can read Exodus 17, and also fiery serpents. That was in this. I'm just gonna give one example. That was in Numbers 21. Just so brothers, for the newly coming and knocking brothers, they can know, what I'm talking about. So yeah, this was in Numbers 21, and brothers can read the whole account. And like I said, I don't want to go into every account because the lesson will be long, but I just want to make the history brief on, for brothers out there, they can go back and look up the account on their own, because I don't want to make the lesson too long. But let's go back to 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 10. It says, neither murmur ye, meaning, talking shit. It says, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer, which is Yahweh Shai. So, even some Israelites, the wicked Israelites, they were murmuring. They were talking shit about the Lord, man, about Moses. Because it actually says in Psalms that, they murmur in their tents. Let's get that real quick. Murmur. Yep, Exodus 15:24. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So they were doing that, man. Exodus 17:3. And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moses and said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? So Jake was talking shit, man. They were ungrateful, I'm just gonna find that Psalms 106. And let's see, Psalms 106 and verse 24. It says, they despise the pleasant land. They believe not his word. Talking about the wicked Israelites, man. It says, but murmur in their tents and hearken not unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh. Yeah, so Slaki, I said they murmured against Moses, which we read that account in Exodus. We just read it right now. But yeah, they were murmuring against the Lord, man. And let's just define our word murmur. I just want to fact check that real quick. Psalms 106:25. Murmur is from the Hebrew word ragan, which means to murmur, whisper, backbiter, rebel, to grumble. So in other words, talking mess, man. Talking mess towards the Lord, towards Moses, towards Aaron. They were ungrateful, man. So that's the spirit we're not supposed to have. We're not supposed to be ungrateful. You're not supposed to talk mess to the Lord. You're not supposed to tempt the Lord, because the Lord hates that, man. So that is an example of what not to be in the faith, you see. So let's go back to 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 11. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. So that's the point, man. So all these accounts that Apostle Paul referenced to, of our forefathers, they were written into for examples of what not to be, man. You know? So, but even in today's day, you still have a lot of Israelites in the truth. They still, niggas in the truth, man. They still pushing false doctrine, and it's still, just being wicked, man. Just, even amongst ISUBK, they even said, we love, something like that. They said we love niggas or something on that video I did a couple weeks ago, So Jake is still being wicked, man, So, but at the end of the day, we warn them, starting with our Apostle Elder Graham Milson, we warn them. But if they're not taking heed and they're not repenting, then that's on them, But all we know is we did our part is in warning Jake, man, on what not to be to get it right, warning Israel when they go off and warning 2/3 that's not in the truth, man, So yeah, I just want to make a quick lesson on that. Lord willing, I was edified. And until next time, Shalom.